All right, welcome back to the No Name Nonsense podcast. We are out here once again. We wanted to talk briefly and precisely about the FBI thwarted an attempt on Michigan Governor Whitmer. Whitmer's life. They did not enact the kidnapping, but they were planning one, and the FBI found the plan, stopped the gentleman. I think locked up 4 to 6 people. I don't know exactly, and put them away. The group was considered to be a right wing extremist group. I don't think that matters as much. That it's a right wing, whatever. It's just an extremist group that tried to pull this off.
Hmm.
So I mean, what you got? What are you guys' thoughts on that? What you?
I thought they were militia. Or
Yeah,
they're
yeah. It was a
okay.
right wing, like militia is a form of a group, but they were right wing extremists. Extremists.
Hmm.
Okay, militia. If you wanna.
It is a bit concerning. Or do you want to go first? Or
No, you
okay,
got it.
it is a bit concerning to me. I was not expecting something like this to happen, and because elections coming up, and I'm trying to be naive about it a little bit, thinking, okay, it'll all calm down, the unrest after the election's over, or if there is going to be any unrest, it would be from the outcome of the election or whatever. I never expected that an actual group of people would actually try to kidnap a high ranking government official. And, to me, that's just shocking. And I know I know I do sound naive stating that it is
Hmm.
shocking,
Hmm.
but I mean, I understand we all have different views, but why on earth would you want to kidnap a governor?
It
I,
sounds
I
more like a
mean,
terrorist act as opposed to
right?
something, somebody that would do it, somebody from the states, doing
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
It's just it's just mind blowing. And it's not like it's like, how do I put this? I'm just gonna say it point blank. September 11th. Okay, tragic day in our country.
Hmm.
It was from a Taliban run group run by Osama bin Laden. We all know that. Obviously they had a lot of hate against us, and they decided to attack our country.
Hmm.
But you have a an attempt for a civil kidnapping
Hmm.
within our own country.
By our own citizens.
Hmm.
Exactly. So to me, it's shocking, but at the same time, it also scares me a bit
Yeah.
because this is probably not going to be the first time we hear about something like this.
Hmm.
Because now this whole situation has potentially opened up, other groups that we don't know about. Say, well, if they were so close to doing it, then what's to say that's stopping us from doing, not us, but like another group from
Yeah.
doing it?
Hmm.
It's scary. It is scary. So now I don't feel safe knowing that there are people out there within our country, our own citizens, that want to do harm. I mean, that's how the Civil War started. Are we on the way to another civil war? Is this what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, I would say I think the Civil War never really ended. It just was a Cold War for a very long time. Now
Hmm.
it's just getting hot again.
Hmm.
The I hate when people say, "Well, why are we so divided now?" Ladies and gentlemen, America's always been divided. It's just that you never listen to the voices of the oppressed and the marginalized.
Hmm.
Now, because of social media and everything that goes on, those voices are able to step forward. So I need people to stop saying, "Why are we so divided?" It's always been divided. The question should be, is why do we have such differing views of America?
Hmm.
That should be the question, because it is like you said, like obviously if you're planning to kidnap someone, you think that what you're doing is for the greater good of this country. Was a way to leverage some kind of result that was going to benefit, quote unquote, their idea of what America should be or what they wanted to become. It's it's ridiculous because every side is extremist, from the left to the moderates to the conservative. They have extremists. Most of us are somewhere in the middle there, trying to figure it out. A lot of us are in the middle or in one of our group set separate groups, but we don't really care about the other side because we think their ideology is stupid. Our experiences in America shape a lot of our ideology politically and what we think is best for the country. I have conservative friends that will tell me they think the conservative way is the best thing for the country, and I remind them that the conservative way would have kept slavery around. The conservative way would have kept women without voting. The conservative way would have done a lot of difference for America, and it would have been slow to react, a la from the liberal stance of it. Liberals will say, well, conservatives are slowing down the progress of America. And I remind that liberals that, hey, you know what? Like, taking a moment to breathe and slow down and make sure the decisions you're going to make that are going to change this country are the right decisions to make. And how can we test it before we go all in? So both sides have their ideologies, and both sides, you can make an argument, are the best way to run this country. I think the best way to run this country is both sides working together and give and take to run the country. The problem is now is that we have gotten to a point where no give and take exists. So when you have no longer the ability, I think we talked about it 1 or 2 shows ago, when you no longer have the ability to have conversations, what's the next step? We're seeing it.
Yeah.
Why I said the Civil War went cold for all these things, because literally the people who won the Civil War, the Union, did not abolish or get rid of the Confederates. They didn't tell them, like, be gone and imprison. Like most wars that are fought, ladies and gentlemen, once you win, you imprison the people who started the war, and you pretty much get rid of them. We didn't do that. These people for the Confederacy went back to their land. So what happens is, so I fought you. Now we're brothers again, quote unquote. My ideology didn't change. I didn't get this grand awakening because I lost the war and said, hey, you know what? Slavery's bad.
Yeah.
You know what? Racism's bad. You know what? I kept my ideology. And now my ideology just grew into this amalgamation of nationalism, patriotism, and now it's even harder to tell me my ideology is wrong, because a lot of what we hold dear has adopted some of this ideology from the Southerners and from the Confederacy, and some of the Union people weren't all for the Great Union. Oh, we want to stop. No, they weren't for that. They were just trying to be like, hey, we need the country to be united. We will be okay with slavery if we all agree on it. I mean, Lincoln said, I wouldn't free a slave if I can get the Union to stay together. So my point is that we've always had this Civil War. It's just now that we're not talking. We're talking less and less and less, because everybody's so dug in that we're going to have more of this extremist stuff pop up. And I hate when the conservatives say, well, mostly liberals are the ones that do the extreme violence now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, if you read the FBI reports, the extreme right are agitating situations. They have a whole file and dossier on the white supremacists that are going to areas and starting the looting and rioting. It's all a mess, guys. It's all a mess. And the point is when we keep doing, like you said, blaming left or right, we're not getting to the problem of it. The problem is that America is damaged. And it's been damaged for a while. And it ain't seeking no therapy. It's just going right on along like it's all good because, we're the greatest country and nation in the world, and we're not. But we keep saying that. We keep telling ourselves we're great, and we don't want to fix the issues that are going along. Our country is crumbling because we don't read, we don't write, we don't express ourselves. We try to keep going on, and so going to this kidnapping, these people, if you ask them, they probably thought they were doing what's right for America.
Yep.
They don't have any apprehension that this is deadly, divisive, and can harm America. They think that if we would have executed this kidnapping, we would have solved one of America's ills.
But what is it? But how? What would that solve? It would solve nothing.
Take her out of office. Maybe the person behind her that replaces her is more liking to what they believe that the America or that state needs. So maybe in their eyes, the person that would upseat her if they got rid of her would be someone closer to their side. And I'm spitball. I don't know their manifesto. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm just going of how usually these things work in politics. So that's my thought process. They have to think whoever was next was better for them.
It's scary.
Oh, it's
That's
extremely
insane,
scary.
man. It's insane.
Because I'm thinking back to when my mother had told me about when she was little and President Kennedy was assassinated, and how scary of a time that was. And she didn't really quite understand. She's what was like second or third grade, and she didn't quite understand what was going on and why this person did what he did. And then my grandparents trying to explain it to her and my uncle, and it was it's not really something that is easy to explain, because there's really no explanation for it because nobody could understand why. And then the same with, his brother when, Robert Kennedy was assassinated.
Mm.
And, Mr. Rogers had a segment on his show, them trying to explain to children, why
Yeah.
these things happen.
Happening.
If this is going to start to become the norm,
Mm-hmm.
how are we supposed to explain this to our children? Now,
Well,
I don't have kids,
here's the
but
thing: this
you
has
know,
always been the norm. White male terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to go through history?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ku Klux Klan. Like we can go through a litany of history. White male terrorism has always been America's issue.
Yeah.
We don't address it because it's white male terrorists. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, if all these terrorists, let's say through history, were black people wouldn't even be in the USA right
Yeah.
now. They would have eliminated us and wiped us out.
Mm-hmm.
White male terrorism has always been the problem in the United States because they don't want to reckon with it. That they're making homegrown, nasty ass terrorists, and we don't want to talk about it because it looks like their son, it looks like their daughters, it looks like everybody wants to bitch and complain about Antifa. Antifa, if you go look up their mugshots, it ain't me and Tunes. And I'm not saying Antifa's a terrorist cell. What people feel about their own opinion. I don't feel like that. I feel like it's just anti-fascism. They believe they have a fascist president in office. They're fighting against it. Neither here nor there. The point is, if you want to classify them as a terrorist cell or as whatever, they are usually white people.
Yeah.
Usually white men
Mm-hmm.
that look like hippies.
do you think that with this sort of situation that's happening
Mhm.
or that has happened, do you think now that America will be more aware of, national terrorist groups happening at home?
I
If
will say if the administration changes, yes, because the FBI has been saying since 2016 that white supremacy is the greatest threat to our national security and terrorism. We sat in a debate where Trump denied that and then tried to call it Antifa. The violence is on the left. And Biden said, your own security administration, the FBI said this. Yes, it's all in their documents. The president's choosing to deny this. And I'm not saying that even if he accepted it, if it would squash white supremacy, terrorist male group, I don't know. But the point is that the first step is admitting that it's a problem. And then from that step, figuring out how to solve the problem. But when we don't admit that it's a problem, it's nothing really to be solved. I commend the FBI by sticking to their guns, literally and figuratively, and busting down this cell because nobody would have blamed them if they just stopped following these terrorist, white supremacist groups and etc. So it's I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever end because we've had a history of America where it just hasn't ended and it hasn't stopped and it hasn't been taken in. I hate to say it, when white people do things, it's exclusively to the white person who enacts it. When everybody else in America does things, including women,
Yeah.
it is exclusive to that whole race and sex.
Mm-hmm.
So until they start treating white men like that, which they'll never do because
Never
the people
do.
making the laws and running this country look like the terrorists, they're never going to take it serious because they don't want to be stereotyped into, oh, well, I guess all white men have the potential to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
They just won't do it.
Okay, so if the administration does change, let's
Mhm.
say that Biden is elected as president and, now we've got to do a transition.
Okay.
Do you think that the Biden administration will make a change?
I think they will put it into the forefront and make it a known objective to squash these sales. I don't know how active or how legitimate their pursuit of it will be. Let's hope. I pray. I hope if he does get elected, we see a change. I hope that our current president takes it serious. Like, I don't. Let's not even go to Biden. I hope our current president, for however long, if it's another 4 years, another 3 months, starts taking this serious because it is serious. And I think if you started cracking down on that, it starts cracking down on the left extremists as well because they're going to see how real they're taking the right extremists. The left is going to be like, okay, let's. It's going to be a cooling point, but
Yeah.
I just don't see it, man.
That remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's
What do you think?
I mean, I just think, man, just everything that's going on in the world today, like Jason said, like, you know, the world's just been upside down like this for the longest time. Like, it didn't just start a few months ago with Breonna Taylor or, the other
George
injustice,
Floyd.
George Floyd, and it's just, I mean, it's really going to take, somebody to really take it seriously and really, want to make a change. And I really just feel like it starts with the justice system, like the law enforcement, like they really gotta buckle down and really try to turn that situation around before anything else changes. You know, I mean, it's I mean our lives and future are pretty much in their hand,
Right.
and it's just sad to think looking at my kids and what they'll have to deal with in the future. I would just hope and pray to for just the situation to be a lot better for them than it was for us today.
Plus a big one, and I'm gonna end on this one because I'm just gonna throw it out there, and people are gonna hate me for saying this, but if they're gonna actually crack down on white supremacist extremist groups, we gotta we probably gotta start with the police.
Yeah,
Ain't nobody
definitely.
trying to have that conversation. Let's just be
Yeah.
completely honest.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a House meeting right around when Trump, took all the headlines with this COVID thing. There was a House meeting about white supremacists infiltrating the police department, where they brought in former neo Nazis that talked about how they were telling all their buddies and stuff to join police departments, especially in inner cities, so they
Hmm.
could police. Like, it's a whole thing about it. The FBI did a report in 2006 about the problem with white supremacy infiltrating the military and the police,
Hmm.
and they didn't have a solution for it. They did a follow up in 2016, speaking how it's even worse of a problem now. And we said so. If anybody can say the new change of the regime, if they're going to take it serious, you got to start with the government official white supremacy.
Hmm.
And like I said, like I just don't see those things being done because, like I said again, okay, if you start going after the police, now the police don't want to do their job. Now crime goes up. Now everybody hates you because it's not fun to dislike the police.
Hmm.
It's not fun not supporting the police. I can post all day on Facebook about the racism in the police department that have been documented, reported, and researched, and I get no peep from anybody making a comment that defends the blue and backs the blue. But as soon as I post something that is anti-blue, like in my opinion,
Hmm.
oh, I get an avalanche of people that want to tell me, will they save right? All the rhetoric they give me, and my response is, last time I checked, they chose the job. White supremacy almost is so accustomed to us that it just feels American,
Mm.
and that's an issue. It feels American. Like I
Yeah.
said,
I feel like you'll hear from negative people first,
oh
then the
for sure.
positives, because I actually did post something about face mask on a grocery store Facebook page
I remember you told me about that. They
about
lit your ass up.
okay, it had I'll just give an example. It had a sign that said you must have a mask to enter the store,
Hmm.
and this family of six entered without face mask. One was coughing
Mm.
without covering their mouth.
Mm.
And there's like three grocery store associates standing right there and they don't do anything. And I go up to one, I'm like, they're not wearing face mask and this person's coughing, and they just like walked away.
Mm.
So, I tried to call the hotline, no one answered, so I posted something on Facebook. And immediately
Her ass up.
I started getting like comments about, you must be a Democrat, or go live in the basement, you spineless sheep, or
The
some
hell?
really bad comments like anti-maskers
Hmm.
that were, you know, telling me to go like do
Basically, go f
negative.
yourself.
Yes, basically. And it was like immediate. It wasn't, and there wasn't a single person commenting, like showing support, like, yes, I applaud you for bringing them, making them aware of,
Mm-mm.
people that are violating the policy. And, none of that. So I just feel like the society now, it's all negative, and there's like nothing, no one backs anybody up. Everyone just wants to like berate everybody.
Yeah. Every
And
man for
just,
himself.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's a sad state, but yes, shout out to Governor Whitmer. I'm glad that she's safe, and shout out to the FBI doing their thing too. Any closing comments or words?
No.
No.
I think we've said all we've needed to say, right?
It's a lot on that one. It's like, oh, Black Lives Matter. We're going to end there. Thank you
Uh,
for checking out the No Name Nonsense podcast. Check out the playlist on Spotify, DJ Tunes, and Corny J. See you later.